This energy summit that we organized today with the support of so many friends at the Institute is basically trying to look into a number of tensions that could be disruptive or creative tensions. And this is between tradition and innovation. We are here at the place where modern petrochemical industries and the oil and gas industry basically started. There was, of course, Texas, there was, of course, Baku in Azerbaijan, but this is one of the places when this industry has its roots. So there's lots of tradition. But also there is innovation, there's technology, there's digitalization. That's a number of things that are gonna influence the business models, the geopolitics and the geoeconomics. And this is something that we'd like to encourage our friends and the huge engineering talent of Romanians and the region all around us to look to the present with being proud of the past but anticipating the future. The second big tension that will be addressed, and also Radu Tudor is here and other friends from famous and leading and wise journalists from across the board will lead the conversation, is about security and feasibility. Not always security and feasibility of projects, especially pipelines, especially interconnectivity, are always matching. And for Romania, this is a challenge. And I think for the Romanian governments, this one, the previous one, the future ones, this will continue to be a challenge because between our security needs and the feasibility of some programs, there is a gap. And this is something that we should try to resolve eventually with some ideas today. The third tension is between energy independence that Romania can achieve. Like the United States, a number of years ago, decided to move towards energy independence. Of course, that's a relative notion. But Romania is one of the few countries in Europe that can really has this blessing, and should become a blessing, to have a diverse portfolio of energy resources from all walks of life. Then this is something that we have to look. Because we have to recognize, looking at the map, that Romania today is isolated in terms of networks. And we hope that also EU funds, and I hope that such conversation will lead to the right balance between energy independence and connectivity, which is also part of the business. And I'm convinced that Arnaud Dupuy from Virginia Tech and with other hats that we will be showing the next few days, I'm convinced he will address these things, Arnold, in your presentation. The other thing is a big tension, and Maros Šefčovič will be addressing this. There's a major tension between the desire that Romania, I think, shares of a European energy union and the more selfish national interest inside the European Union. This is something, this is a reality. This is a reality. And a very intense conversation about Nord Stream and the fact that the US Congress adopted legislation. In this respect, these are issues that have to be addressed, and we cannot put them under the carpet. We want energy union, but money is money and a buck is a buck for everybody. And this is something that we have to mitigate and try to make the European project move forward. There is also a fifth and last tension between energy and geopolitics. Mehmet here is our friend, and he's the president of the Bosphorus Energy Club. Under his auspices, President Putin Erdogan met 1 year ago, Mehmet, I think. And that's again a reality that alliances and geopolitics are shifting. And this is something we have to take into account. And there's also something about the decision of the US to start to slowly and gradually eliminate the self-imposed restrictions on exports of LNG and other things towards Europe and the world. These are things that we have to take into account, because if not, we'll operate in a vacuum. So between energy and geopolitics, there's always been, will always be a connection. And this is something we hope we'll be able to do together. And the last point, which is more strategic for Romania. This very morning, in one of the leading Romanian newspapers, in Adevărul, and also later today in the United States, Harlan Ullman, one of the most brilliant geopolitical minds, is making a strong plea for a pivot towards the Black Sea. And this is where I'm finishing my remarks. Of course, everybody is concerned about this eastern flank. Romania will host next year the Three Seas Initiative, Baltic, Adriatic, and Black Sea. But for us, and I think for all our neighbors and all our friends, irrespective of their nuances in terms of politics or even geopolitics, the greater Black Sea area has become the heart of the geopolitical big game. And the plea that Ulman Harman is making today, and I encourage you to read his piece, is in Romanian translated, it will be, of course, in American newspaper in English later today, he's making a strong plea to make this pivot. And this is nothing to do with traditional menaces and threats, which do exist. It's also part of a broader game. And I think the recent military exercises, the recent decisions to have referendum in the Kurdish part of Iraq, these are things that directly or indirectly are making our part of the world, our part of Europe, our part of Eurasia, if you want, also, one of the most critical parts in the big game. So for the Romanian sides and for the Romanian players and also for our friends and allies, this is something that we'll encourage in our conversation.